Greetings all, great Garvey Day. I'll be reading Message to the People, the course of African philosophy, lesson 13 on the universe. No man yet knows the riddle of the universe. It has been the eternal puzzle men in their searching desires are aiming to unraveling the mysteries behind it. It contains universal knowledge behind the knowledge of our world. If man can succeed in identifying the facts of the majority of units in the universe, he approaches a greater degree of knowledge than those who confine themselves only to the investigation of things terrestrial. The greater minds of our worlds have experimented and are experimenting in the desire to grapple with all the facts that sustain the universe. No one knows if man will be permitted to enter into the mysteries realms of knowledge, but it is the duty of man to stretch his imagination afield and gather for himself as much information as is naturally possible. Therefore, never rest with the limited knowledge of the world, but seek to find other knowledge with which you may be able to lift yourself far above that have been attained or accomplished by man. In the universe, there are mysteries which may be mathematically or scientifically measured and reduced to the concept of the human mind. Let your mind reach out, then to be gripple of the mysteries by an approach based upon reason. As man before you discovered many things, gravitation, the fixed positions of the stars, the regular movements of the planets, and such herefore hidden facts, you may in search find out that truths upon which your race and civilization might climb to the highest pinnacle. Therefore always carry out observant eye and an analytical mind. You may suddenly stumble upon the some truth for which your world is waiting. It doesn't matter who the person is. When he has discovered the truth for which mankind is indeed of our searching for, he becomes a hero of an immortal a hero and an immortal. Try to grasp at immortality by leaving behind a never dying name because of the exceptional things you have been able to perceive and discover through the hidden mirror of universality. If you can see visions and dreams and make your visions and dreams true, you may focus the facts and the truths beyond your immediate reach by measuring them with your sublime knowledge. Find the cause to justify the effect. The effect is visible everywhere, but the cause is generally hidden. Follow the lines by degrees until you approach the start. The beginning, the source. Never stop halfway, but go through. If you have good grounds to believe that there is something beyond. If there is a mountain, it is suggestive that there is a valley behind it. Don't rest with the mountain because you see it. Search for the valley because there may be hidden it may be hidden there. Never cease studying the ideas or the facts that may lead you to define conclusion. The things of the world have become common because most of them have been revealed as far as we know, but there are uncommon things even on this earth, and much so in the universe, that we may search after and make use of use as we make use of things today brought to us through the probing genius of other men who saw the need for more and searched for it and brought it to mankind. Edison saw the need for more light and he brought more brilliant electricity. Stephenson saw the need for more speed and he brought the rapid movement engine with its steam. Fulton saw the need for more river transportation and quicker speed as he brought his steamboat. Harvey saw the need for conquering the mystery of the human system and reveal the circulatory system. Observe well and see what mankind needs most in addition to what they have and tried to bring it to them. That is the way you stand out in immortality, as these men do stand out among us today, even though they are dead, and some of them have been dead for years, dead for ages. If I could lie down and dream out of my subconscious mind the dream of life and find its source in a more direct way, how much more could I tell you life is astound and convince man of what life is? It is the dreamer, the subconscious manipulator who sees things by looking through the mental darkness. Therefore, see things for yourself and see then in a way that mysterious universe. It is said that God is behind the universe. No man has ever seen God. Suppose you, like Christ, could see God. What a wonder and amazement. Christ saw God beyond the universe as man. Christ was an object lessons to man's glorification, and knowledge. Therefore, if you approach through with its deepest sublimity, you may see as much as Christ saw when he saw God. It is thought that created the universe. It is thought that will master the universe. Man must therefore use his thoughts to limit to get the best results from the universe. No thinking, no knowledge, proper thinking may lead you suddenly into the conquest of that which here heretofore was mysterious. Herethor was mysterious. If man can think most excellently, then he climbs in the excellence of the companionship of the most excellent. As he climbs in his excellence to the most excellent, he shall be presuming, but he shall not be presuming, but he shall be taking himself up to the most excellent, that which in other units was not excellent. Unlike the dutiful servant who used his talents and used them well, he shall be possessed of the talent of the servant who hid his and is ultimately deprived of it for the benefit of the servant who used his because he could appreciate the gift. Man in his excellence lifts himself highest to God by his mental industry, and the man who has no mental industry forfeits that mentality to the useful servant who climbs in the excellence of the most excellent. Brush away the cobwebs of your mind and see the universe as looking through a crystal, because beyond you all is bright and beautiful. The darkness is in you. See the light. We want knowledge to lighten your darkness. Bring the light and knowledge into your soul and flash it through your minds like the spark from the thunderbolt, and all creation will ignite in one glorious illumination, and you will pass through the mysteries of the universe with the knowledge and eyes of a God. If I could dream my life into eternity and come back with the wisdom, should I not have the surpassing knowledge of my fellows? Then why not seek it, since it has there for man to seek out of the possess himself of it? It is when you reach up to it that you approach God's elevation, not in rivalry of God, but as coming to God, of whom you were always a part. But for the darkness of your own soul, illuminate the soul of God's brilliancy will be revealed as it is revealed to Christ. When the halo surrounded by surrounded his head, and he has declared the begotten Son of God, of whom God was well pleased. What a world of unfulfillment, what a universe of expectation. to which man in his sublimity may climb. Why not be the first soul outside of Christ to climb in the sublimity of the most excellent? The Greek philosophers suggested to the Greek youth that he should know himself. Across the temple of Delphi was written these words: Man may know thyself, but I may add also, man know thyself, and man know the universe, and man know your God. In searching for knowledge, you may stumble upon the truth, a revelation that may lead you up to the heights of glory, but a known glory, to be known as the greatest soul that fathoms the depths and reaches the heights. And that concludes lesson 13 on the universe. Great Garvey Day.
Great Garvey Day, my sister. Thank you very much for your reading today.
Very
Greetings, Mr.
welcome.
President.
Great Garvey Day, Honorable Commissioner,
How are
Madam
you doing
President.
today?
You don't keep calling me that. Great Garvey Day.
First race, the brother race first.
Yeah, race first race.
That's right. We the first, and we look like we may be the last.
Unfortunately.
uh,
How are you
hopefully the
doing today,
Cubs
Mr.
will run
President?
free.
Yes, sir.
How,
Uh,
how, how art is thou today?
that was perfect, if not better.
Yes,
Still on
sir.
the case for the race, and I brought a special guest with me today. I actually thought today I got the lesson wrong. I thought today was the self initiative, but yeah, today we
It's
dealing
last
with
week.
next week.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's next week.
That was last week.
No, that's next week, sister.
Was it next week?
Yes,
Oh, yeah,
indeed.
sorry. Apologies. I
yeah.
thought it was next week.
Yeah, but universality I noticed is actually in some ways similar. But I wanted to invite my daughter on because she and I sometimes have some similar conversations based on the lessons, and so I was going to bring her on particularly for the self initiative. But I'm pleased to have my daughter Zakia on the call with me, the youngest of the Kamau clan. So if you can unmute yourself and give a good Garvey greeting.
Good Garvey Day. Good Garvey Day. Hi, everybody.
Greetings,
Greetings, my
greetings, sis.
sister.
Greetings, sister. Greetings.
It's a
Welcome.
pleasure. It's a pleasure to have you here with us today, my sister.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Anytime,
The pleasure. The
all
pleasure
the
is mine.
time.
Now we're gonna pick your brain. Don't think you get it easy because your daughter the president general.
Oh,
She
definitely not.
gets a pass. She gets a pass, beloved. She gets a pass.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. I appreciate the lesson on universality. It reminded me of something. Who I'm trying to think who once said that. Was it? Might have been Einstein who once said that imagination is worth more than knowledge and intelligence sometimes because knowledge kind of gives you what already exists, but imagination opens you up to what hasn't been created yet or what can exist. And so innovation and all these things are driven by imagination a lot more than firsthand knowledge. Knowledge sometimes comes after you start exploring and beginning to discover. So, in studying the universality of thought, I remember Mr. Garvey first started thinking about how to build the universal association that we had. He had to conquer a world of thought, he had mentioned. And conquering this world of thought, it was a whole new ideas and ways of coming together with his race to build this worldwide empire. And I was thinking, yeah, I mean, the term universal, we use it quite often because it's such a powerful word. And as an association, we are universal in our geographic reach, but we're also universal in the level of impact. We want to not just support one another economically, not just politically, not just socially, not just spiritually, but universally in all ways possible. That's how we develop a strong race first philosophy, and to think on a universal scale and not just a personal or a local scale, or just in one aspect versus another, because all aspects kind of bleed over into the other. It's hard to address the political if you're not addressing the economic, and it's hard to address the economic if you don't, train in building institutions that are socially designed to educate and influence what we think. So in all ways, these things are interconnected. So to be able to see things universally, whereas I know in years past I used to get into silly, ridiculous arguments with narrow-minded nationalists. These cliquish groups, they call themselves nationalists, who only thinking about self-defense, or only thinking about education, or only thinking about economics. It ain't about economics. It ain't about nothing, brother. It doesn't make sense. Okay, and somebody else want to argue, nah, brother, it's about self-defense. What good is money if you can't stay alive and spend it? And so when they say, oh man, it's about that money, man, how you going to write a checkbook if you don't know how to read? No, it's about education, brother. No, it's about that holistic health, man. We killing ourselves eating this stuff, and everybody want to argue what is over, rather than bringing it all together under one universal umbrella and seeing the big picture, seeing that universal problems deserve a universal solution. So, using this universal African nationalist mindset is one that really brings all things in perspective, and allows us to be able to address different problems all over the globe. So the universality of the message in and of itself is just a powerful thing to consider, along with some of the pearls of wisdom Mr. Garvey dropped in that lesson. Dealing with the divine mind and the Christ, etc. So anyway, I kind of appreciate the wisdom in the lesson.
And the president is probably got a phone call.
No, I was just finished comment. That's all.
Oh,
Yeah, brush away the cobwebs of your mind and see the universe as looking through a crystal. No, and looking through a crystal, because beyond
you
you all
bright
is
and
bright and beautiful. That is amazing. That is amazing. And how many of us have cobwebs in our mind that need brushing? Yeah, that speaks to my heart. Because when we are doing this work, we must have a clear and focused mind, so we are not distracted by any inside or outside influences. And another passage that spoke to my heart is observe well and see what mankind needs most in addition to what they have, and try to bring it to them. That is the way you should stand out in immortality, and these men do not stand out among us today, even though they are dead, and some of them have been dead for ages. So, yeah, again, this was another verse that really spoke to me, because as we're looking at the race, and we are seeing our own condition of what we need. Like, we need schools, we need banks, we need hospitals, we need unity. So, and as the UNI, we are trying to deliver these things to the people, and trying to get them to understand that we all need to be on one accord when we are delivering these things. And without a unified, dedicated plan, none of this is really going to manifest or take place. And it is thought that created the universe. It is thought that will master the universe. Man must therefore use his thoughts to the limit to get the best results from the universe. No thinking, no knowledge. Proper thinking may lead you suddenly into the conquest to that which hereto, heretofore was mysterious. So again, I think this is trying to tell me or tell us that really there is no mysterious thinking in the universe. We just need to be clear in our thoughts, clear in our deeds, clear in our actions, and all the rest will fall into place. You know, proper thinking. Like sometimes I find myself getting kind of frustrated with myself that I'm not moving fast enough, or we are not moving fast enough, and we need to do more and be better. But sometimes we have to pause, take a step back, align our thoughts, and understand that yes, everyone is not on the same kind of frequency. But if we can lift each other and pull each other up to the correct frequency, then we can achieve our aims and objectives.
I agree with that. I actually like to touch on that as well. When it said brush away the cobwebs of your mind and see the universe as looking through a crystal, because beyond you is all bright and beautiful. That really spoke to me. But the part in that passage that really spoke to me is when it said, bring down the light and knowledge into your soul and flash it through your mind like the spark from the thunderbolt. I think that's really important because, like, oftentimes we notice the cobwebs in our mind, or sometimes they're just subconscious. Because I think, like, a page before that, it says something about the subconscious mind, the dream of life. So sometimes, like, we see the cobwebs, but we just assume that it's other people's cobwebs. Like, oh, I can blame this on so and so, or oh, I can blame this on my circumstance, or oh, I can blame this on this. But oftentimes, we just have to, like they said, shine the light on ourselves, and it'll allow us to see things and have that knowledge and understanding through the eyes of God, to where we can understand that these are our cobwebs. And once we clean out our own cobwebs, then we can, like, see and understand things clearly. um yeah, because when it said the dreamer, the subconscious manipulator, looking through the mental darkness, it's really easy to get confused and to, you know, be led astray by, the subconscious mind and those cobwebs. But once you really, clear them out and see things from a clear view, you can avoid a lot of problems within your day-to-day life and just within life in general, and, connections with others, just by cleaning out your own cobwebs. So that was important to me as well.
Yes,
Absolutely.
indeed. Yes,
Yeah.
indeed, my sister.
I hear you, young lady.
Making daddy proud.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
yeah. Yeah, she's strong. Well, you know, another part I was going to mention quickly, before I let someone else make a comment too, is Mr. Garvey's. You know, he invoked the man know thyself, which was a pivotal writing of his. I think it was done back in 21, and there's a section of that writing, man know thyself. Of course, we know it's written on the over top of the entrances into the pyramids. The best way to gain knowledge of the universe and the knowledge of everything around you is first gain knowledge of self and know who you are. You know, man know thyself, man heal thyself, etc. So if we look at that, Mr. Garvey wrote a piece about that concept, and of course, we know in many ways he was channeling the spirit of Ma'at with the 42 lessons that we actually read now. You know, 22 of them. You know, the 42 lessons were, matching the 42 principles of Ma'at, as well as the ostrich feather, which represents Ma'at that he wore and adorned his clothing with, etc. But a lot of that comedic energy he always talked about, ancestral energy, the power of positive thinking, etc. And when he mentioned about man knowing thyself, he said this once: there's so few of us can understand what it takes to make a man. The man who will never say die. The man who will never give up. The man who will never depend on others to do for him what he ought to do for himself. The man who will not blame God, who will not blame nature, who will not blame fate for his condition, but the man who will go out and make conditions to suit himself. Oh, how disgusting life becomes when on every hand you hear people who bear your image, who bear your resemblance, telling you that you cannot make it, that fate is against them. that they can't get a chance. If 400 million Negroes can only get to know themselves, to know that in them is a sovereign power, is an authority that is absolute, and in the next 24 hours, we'd have a new race, we'd have a new nation, an empire resurrected not from the will of others to see us rise, but from our own determination to rise, irrespective of what the world thinks. But to think on that level, man, is powerful. You know, to know there is no person that can stop you, that you are in some ways the Lord over your own creation. You know, the mind, the African fundamentalist says that the mind creates whatever we wish to have, and life we can have through the active intelligence, our active creation of our mind, that we can actually bring certain things into, manifest them into existence just by planting those positive thoughts into our head, by just rather than planting these seeds that will produce the negative fruit, we can produce the positive fruit. We can plant self-reliance. We can plant seeds of self-determination. We can plant seeds of self-love versus self-pity or self-doubt or self-loathing or some other type of destructive seed. And we know as the mind thinks, therefore we do. And so if we can just control our mind and understand the universal power of that brain of ours to be able to accomplish anything that we will, or the miracles that we can accomplish. And just as Mr. Garvey did, I mean, he took a lot of understanding on that level of learning from all the greatest teachers and thinking of the universe and finding out these universal truths and putting them together into a working ideology that allowed him to formulate this worldwide African empire in the citadel of white supremacy. And nothing has ever been on earth to accomplish on that level as the Mosiah, when he utilized his metaphysical mind to manifest these miracles the way he did. So in reading this lesson, it kind of broadens your worldview. And also, talks about immortality, which was a kind of an interesting note as well. But yeah, the power of the knowing thyself is something I don't think we focus on nearly enough as a race of people. We think it's kind of insignificant, but it's really a lot involved in that process that goes in. The self-initiative kind of covers it a little bit more. But this particular lesson, though, definitely is one that was a necessary building block in developing that mindset you need in order to be a true leader of the community, starting with love of self and the ability to know that you can become a universal thinker, and not just doing what you're told or what given what you've been handed, but you can actually not only analyze situations, but you can synthesize new thoughts and ideas and how to solve situations. It's a powerful lesson for me. But that's it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you for that extra reading as well. Once again, we're reading and we can see that Garvey is preparing us to be the greatest men and women in society and in civilization. Like there's a part, it says, never stop halfway, but go right through. If you have good grounds to believe that there is something beyond. If there is a mountain, it suggests that there is a valley behind. Don't rest with the mountain because you see it. Search for the valley because there may be much hidden. Many times we give up. Garvey is telling us never give up. And if we take these lessons, right, and just add that to our personal life in whatever we're doing, and I'm telling you, you're not gonna fail. It's impossible for you to fail. These lessons are making the person the highest force in society, in my opinion. Anyway, he says, man in his excellence lift himself highest to God by his mental industry. And the man who has mental industry forfeits the mentality to be useful servants who climb in his excellence to the most excellent. So we are, there's another part where he says that we are becoming God-like with knowledge. Knowledge, brothers and sisters, Garvey says that intelligence rules the world and ignorance or ignorant people carry the burden. We're not in this position that we find ourselves in because we have the knowledge. No, brothers and sisters, we're in this because we lack the knowledge. It's lack of knowledge why we're here. Because if we had the knowledge, we would do what we need to do. Because as my granny would say, a man lives to what he knows. You can't expect somebody to live to something they don't know. It's impossible. So when I'm reading this, I know he's talking about God. I know he's talking about the universe. But once again, when I'm reading this, I'm seeing him telling us that there's nothing stopping us in whatever we're doing. We must go forth and handle our business. Like the young people say, stand on business now. We must stand on our business, whatever it is. And we know what our business is race first, but in general, if man can think most excellency, then he can climb in that excellence. Let me add back up. It's still loading up. So then again, in order to be excellent, you have to be presenting your best self. How do you present your best self? By knowing what it is you're doing. Garvey even said that you never speak on something you have no knowledge of, because the person who has that knowledge, will make you look like a fool. So Garvey is telling us that. I'm sorry, Mr. President, I had to mute you because of the feedback. But Garvey is telling us that if we can be the best, we don't have to be second. Garvey say race first, and the president says first race with it. So we are the first. We're not the last. And in this time, the man who knows, he will rule. The man who doesn't know will have to follow. And we read that in the chapter on leadership, that to lead suggests that you have the superior knowledge on something. So if we're going to be leaders, we have to know. This is why, the study group is very important. This is why, everything has been put on hold for us to seek the knowledge. Even the Bible says, seek ye the kingdom of the Most High, and all things shall be added after. I'm not really a Bible man, but I will use it to my advantage when and where I can, because I know that it resonates with some people. So I know that, nothing comes to a man in his bed but dreams. And if you don't get up there and do it, it stays a dream. You have to manifest these things, and you manifest these things with confidence, and you get confidence by knowing. When you know your job, you're confident in your job. Sister, go ahead. I see you just sent a message in. Go ahead, sister.
Yeah. I don't want to cut your wisdom. So finish your wisdom, and I'm happy to wait till when
No,
you
no,
finish.
no. I can wait. Go ahead, sister.
There was a few things. So, when I was reading this chapter, the first thing that came to mind, and you said this before, was the philosophies and opinions of Marcus Garvey. Like the knowledge that this man had is just beyond belief. You can tell that he was very well read, very well researched, and he talked on things that he had, like you said, like had confidence in this, because these are things that we know, even if we don't know it all. With all of us, we know it all. Does that make sense? So, I just find it really it the words are not here. I don't have the words because it's mind blowing to the knowledge that this man had. But what I got from this chapter was that, it really is about being open. You have to be open to interpretation. You have to be open to seeking. You have to be open to knowing. You have to be open to researching. You have to be open to knowing yourself. You have to be open to doing more. You have to be open to seeing beyond what the eye can see, and feel and know and have it with, and know that it's there within you, but you have to tap into it to be able to be open and have it all, if that makes sense. So that's what I really got, is he saying that, Christ knew God through a way that we didn't, because we couldn't have that relationship with God in that way. And just using that as a metaphor, there's a mountain there, but beyond the mountain, if you seek, you'll find a valley. It's just about being open to what isn't there, even if you don't necessarily believe or you don't have faith in that. It's still being open-minded to what is there, and literally tapping into that to then say, yes, this is factual. No, it isn't. But you know what? This is how I feel and how I know based on knowledge, seeking, etc. And the last thing I wanted to say was, I searched up, maybe many of you have done this and know this already, but I searched up the name Messiah because it just ties into my first point. And the word Messiah really means savior. And this book, which I know, brother minister, you're always saying, you say it every week. So let me say it for you this week. It really is a game changer book. It really has everything that you need to know, from spirituality to religion to leadership to, you know, how to conduct yourself, how to speak, how to be in society, how to set up business, how to be a family person, who to date. So everything you need to know about your race, about outside of your race, so that you can be better prepared, is all in this book. And for those people that are not on the call, that are not so clued up about Marcus Garvey, or who are just learning, I would say Message to the People, The Course of African Philosophy is a great, if not pertinent, way to start, because the knowledge in this book is all you need. It's like a Bible for life. The black man's, red, black, and green book. And I just wanted to highlight that because it's important. And you don't have to necessarily agree with everything that's in there. But let me tell you, this person that wrote this book, the knowledge that comes from him, it's all you need to start you on a journey to go and do more research and back up what you're saying. But yeah, just from this chapter alone on universe, which is very dear to my heart, which is why I wanted to read it. It is about so much more than what we can see, and it's about tapping into that, and then seeking and feeling and getting to know the rest. Race first.
First race, sister. Yeah, 100%. This book, you know that there's many books out there for self-help and all of these kind of books that they have out on the market that people buy into. This book is the real self-help. Do you know what I'm saying? Like 100%. You said it for me, so I don't have to go and say the same thing you just said, but I'm with you 100% on what you just said. But I just want to add something else that, I'm just looking at the page now, and it says, therefore, always carry an observant eye and an analytical mind. Now that is deep. You know what I'm saying? Because we must analyze things, brothers and sisters. Like, it's all good reading something, but can your mind comprehend what you're reading? Can you analyze something? And in terms of our condition, you have to analyze our conditions. You have to analyze the minds of our people and the environment of our people. You have to be able to understand things. Do you know what I'm saying? And that's how you start to understand things, by being analytical. And it also goes on to say you may suddenly stumble upon a truth for which the world is waiting. It doesn't matter who the person is. When he has discovered a truth from which mankind is in need of or searching for, he has become a hero and an immortal, brothers and sisters. We know Garvey is immortal. Right now, I've seen so much things taking place in the world, regarding Marcus Garvey, and he's ascended since 1940. It's nearly 100 years almost. You know what I'm saying? And he's still here. People still talking about the Mohammeds. They're still talking about the Jesus Christ. They're still talking about these people, Moses and all these other people. I know some people may say that's religion, but I'm just giving you an example to say that there's people that have done things, that have brought things to humanity, and they have lived forever. And Garvey is telling us this is how you can live forever. This is how you can be immortal. A lot of people think about legacy. Some people don't care about legacy. When they're gone, they're gone. They don't care. But some people care about legacy. And if you care about legacy, then what best way to leave a legacy other than by finding something to contribute to humanity or your race? When I say humanity, I'm really talking about our race. But, just to be clear, you know what I'm saying? So
But
I
it
think
has an effect. Sorry to cut your wisdom, but that, just to add what you're saying, it has an effect on everybody. So yeah, you can say humanity, because yeah, of course we're talking about ourselves as race, but it's a domino effect, And there are some people that are outside of our race that did stand with Garvey. They might have been in a minority, but he talks about them. So it does have a domino effect on everything, because everything we do will have an effect. Everything they do has an effect. So it's one of the same. Sorry to cut your wisdom. Continue.
No, you never cut it. You added to the wisdom, and we give thanks. So that is the greatest thing that we can do. He goes on to say on the next page that we must find something, observe, observe well, and see what mankind needs most, in addition to what they have, and try to bring it to them. This is the way you stand out in immortality. As these men do stand out among us today, even though they are dead, and some of them have been dead for ages. It's just echoing what I've just said. When you do good works, you live forever. A selfish man will be forgotten, but a good man will be remembered. So these are the things that stand out to me. Again, Garvey is echoing the same thing always throughout this whole book. Know yourself, be the best you can, seek knowledge, study, brothers and sisters, read, study, get knowledge anywhere you can find it, read it, study it. Once you've read it and you studied it, you own it. It's like a kung fu style. Once you know the style, you learn the style, you become the style, and then you can change the style. You can mold that style into your own style. But you have to know it first, brothers and sisters.
And it will humble
There's
you
power
too.
in knowing. Sorry, what did you say, sister?
I was going to say it humbles you too. Once you get the knowledge and you understand it, it humbles you.
Of course, because then you realize you actually don't know nothing.
Yes.
You understand what I'm saying? Because there's so much in this world to get. There's so much knowledge in this world to get. Only a fool thinks he knows it all.
And I'll
But
give
I
a
was
prime
saying,
example. Sorry, continue.
I was just gonna let me make this point and then you could take the floor. I was saying, like, going back to the kung fu style. When you know the style, you can create it, you can mold it into whatever you want it to be. So when you know the knowledge, you own it now. And we need to own knowledge, because that's how we're gonna be better as a human being, as a father, as a mother, as a child, a grandparent soon. You know what I'm saying? Some of us already grandparents. You know what I'm saying? So we're gonna get there by our level of intelligence, not by our ignorance. And ignorance means to ignore facts. But go ahead, sister.
No, gonna give an example of what, and ashamed to say now, I'm saying this on a public platform, and I've only been in the organization a couple of months now. And when I first read the Constitution, and you know that I put up a slight fight, because I was like, I don't understand this. This needs to be changed into A, B, C, and D to make it friendly for me. Well, the humbling part is I've read it again, and it now makes more sense than it did when I read it at first. So it just adds to your point of what you're saying, that you have to read and study, and take it in. And the more that you are in an environment and you put yourself into a particular form, the more it will make sense. So lessons to me, which is, read and understand before you make your mark or you make your move. And that goes for everybody else too. So yeah, it's a really humbling time for me and experience. And I can't fault something that's been tried and tested many times over. So get to know and understand, and then see what you have to say later.
Yeah, that's wisdom and honesty wrapped up together. We live and we learn. Do you know what I'm saying? The older the more we grow with knowledge, our understanding becomes greater. Like this same book, I first read this when I was 19 years old, and I've read this book so much times. This book changed my life. I know it might not have that effect for everybody, but for me, this book took me off of the road. Before this book, I was just a petty criminal. This book shaped me into becoming the man that I am today. You know, a lot of people will say to me, brother minister, you're encyclopedia, brother minister, you're this, you're that, you're this, that. But this book taught me to be all of those things that I'm known for now. So within me, or within you, or in your hands, brothers and sisters, you have the same tools to become the same thing as Mr. Garvey was saying at the time. We look at Garvey and we think, wow, he's marvelous, he's amazing. But we have the ability to become marvelous and amazing too. He's given us the formula to become great. Yes, I understand that, you know, we need unity in the community to get the same results that the most honorable Marcus Garvey got. But at the same time, without the results, we can stand as giants. And we get that. We don't get that from guns, as Tupac would say. We didn't get that from guns. We got that from studying, because there's no guns in jail. But you know, there's no, we don't get power from guns only. We get power from our minds, brothers and sisters. The mind is the most powerful weapon that we can use. It took the mind created the weapons to show you how powerful the mind is. Go ahead, Mr. President.
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was just looking at his comments on our ability to solve the mysteries of the universe through basic reasoning and logic. And the more you think about some of the greatest inventions ever created, from the creating the wheel, from creating like Charles Drew, the blood transfusion, all kinds of technology, etc. These things didn't come so much from training as they did from education, which training is something that people kind of put on you or give you to do a particular thing, but education is something that is extracted from you. I don't have to teach you that 2 + 2 is 4. If you have 2 items and then you notice you get 2 more, instinctively that you have 4. Whether I show these little numeric characters or whatever, it's something that's already in your head. That there's just a matter of time before you reason and begin to understand and solve certain things, so that you don't have to be told everything that you ever learned. Some things you can teach yourself through basic logic and reasoning. Just as many of us did in America when we, heard about the Columbus discovering America and finding all these people there. Well, how could they have discovered it? People were already there. I don't need a history book to teach me that that's a lie. The same thing with the biblical story about Adam and Eve. Children marrying people of other nations. Well, there were people of other nations. How could they have been the very first people on the planet? Something just ain't adding up to this story. So you don't always have to be given everything. If you use your logic and reasoning, you can come up with ideas that will, some cases be that great truth or understanding or logic that will solve problems, that will immortalize you and your contribution and throughout history. Just using your brain. Even people like what's his name, Benjamin Banneker, who designed Washington D.C. and built it. These a lot of the mathematical computing and design and engineering. He never took a math class a day in his life, but he just understood certain things. He put together an almanac, that charted everything, but again, no formal training. These things were just secondhand nature and understanding to him. Some people you can put them on a chessboard or a Sudoku game and teach them a couple things, and within a matter of time, they're on grandmaster level, whereas others may take forever to get there because they don't have that same sense of logic and reasoning. But if you train your brain to think and question everything and begin to develop logic of your own, there's a lot of power involved in that will immortalize us through our, contributions, accomplishments, and glorious deeds over the years. So, if you, only settle for what others have done and don't explore the ability to do more or to see more or to be more, you'll definitely never be remembered. You just be remembered as that guy or that girl. What was that guy that used to? Doesn't matter. He didn't do nothing. So yeah, definitely want to make an immortal contribution wherever possible to society. Because it's important that we make that mark. Like I say, next lesson kind of goes more into um, some of the importance of that, but so I don't want to go too far into that lesson. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of wisdom in this particular lesson as we talk about I was looking at the same one you had mentioned about the discovering the great truth and becoming a hero for it. And yeah, that one probably is one that stands out mostly to me. Never dying because of the exceptional things you've been able to discover in the hidden mirror of universality. Deep, deep, deep. What do you think about that, Ms. Nakia?
I think that is really important and deep too, because it's all about like what you leave, on this earth, and the way that you can erudite others and leave that lasting impact, and just really change, our race and humanity, like, was said earlier, because it affects everything, is a ripple effect, like a domino, domino pieces. So one thing happens and the other thing happens, and it's just like circle of life and the wheel and like everything. So I just feel like it's all very important, and everything that you can learn is really important, and to never stop learning, and to keep changing the world, really.
Well said. Um, yeah, definitely well said. Yeah, so yeah, it's a lot in there that you can extract from. You got pretty spiritual for a minute, and that's one way you get to peer into the divine mind of the Mosiah. And for Sister Nyasha, I was going to say too. I'm still going to call you Madam President. Um, I was going to say that um, the Messiah with an E is is like a savior or an anointed person. And Moses, was like a teacher, or Mose, they used to say sometimes. So when Mr. Garvey's parents were developing his name, they actually added Messiah and Moses together to form the word Mosiah. So they kind of created something new in his name, which means he was an anointed teacher or messenger, etc. So in that sense, I think he actually became both. So no containing that brain of his that was just able to consume so much information. To be able to have read an entire dictionary, memorized every definition, and had his friends just blindly picking through the dictionary, coming up with a word that he, see if he can find they can find a word that he didn't know, and he always knew every word they chose. That's somebody who really really understood. And once you really understand, it's only a matter of time before you're going to really start applying everything, in a practical sense that you learn to communicate better. And that's no doubt why his godfather, aka uncle, um, at a young age saw in Mr. Garvey the ability to produce a master printer at a very young age. 14-year-olds. A lot of people in America, 14 are in junior high school. They're just barely getting out of the grade school, elementary school. So to say that you're gonna start training someone at that age to be a master printer, that's a tall order. And to know that by the time he was even younger than Zakia is at 18, he was leading a print shop with people who were more than twice his age. Some of them probably could have been his grandfather, and he was a foreman and supervisor over them because of the knowledge and mastery he was able to contain at such an early age and apply. Uh, Extraordinary. And there's a lot of other inventors and scientists who also flock to the UNIA because, I mean, once you develop that understanding of our ability to contribute to our society. We don't have to be dreamers. If we work as a team, it doesn't have to be a dream. So if we develop that mindset, like what's his name, Arnold Hamilton Maloney, who developed some cures to snake bites and all these sorts of things to help develop one of the pieces people use in the asthma pump, the little breathalyzer, whatever they call that piece. But I mean, the same thing with the Black Eagle developed some parachute, contraptions and inventions. Other Guard VAs developed certain scientific technology that shows that we have still, even if some of us again weren't trained in these things to be scientists and engineers along that line, that we develop stuff, but necessity sometimes forced us to, think of and create ideas and things to help our race. Which goes back to what I was mentioning last week, I think, about the African Scientific Institute or Academy of Science or Mathematics, etc., that we need to have for ourselves. We were able to develop and create the first sciences on the planet that built the pyramids. And they say there was drawings of us doing open heart surgery thousands of years ago. Things that this generation is, just catching up to. We were perfecting even the penicillin and tetracycline. It appears that many of us in ancient Kemet used to deliberately eat molded bread, which we know that now they found out is a treatment for certain disease, etc. With penicillin, and tetracycline. But certain things we knew, even about the earrings, detoxing our ears, and helping heal our bodies. People thought it was just for purposes of jewelry. But a lot of these things we obviously knew and understood long ago. But it seemed like after the disruption of our development as a race through our enslavement and colonization, that we've kind of put that mind on hold, and we, kind of tucked it away, and we're gonna let the white folks think for us, and we'll just do what they say. That's why we don't have a technological revolution going on in Africa at the moment, even though one is starting to bud with the Sahel states. We don't have the industrial revolution going on like we ought to. Because if we ever do, we're going to totally flip the script, reverse the curse, and we're going to be on top of the world. We're going to be controlling the world's economy. Our time is coming anyway. So Mr. Garvey talked about the world constantly turning, and some who were on top one day are on the bottom the next. And there's nothing really, there's too many can do about it. But, as the world begins to turn, we're going to have our day soon, but we need to be ready for it. As they used to say in New Orleans after the Hurricane Katrina came, there was a time when the floods rose, when the fish were eating the ants. But when the floods receded, the ants started eating the fish. And so we're going to have our day. And when that day comes, we better be prepared to seize it, or else we'll lose that opportunity. And I think, we as a race, the more we begin to think universally and to think that nothing is impossible to us, that we set our minds to, then, the more we will accomplish, and the more folks will not be able to stop or deny anything that we do.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I would also that the job that Garvey had once he left the printers, he was on I don't know, he was like an overseer, but that job was technically for people that came from Europe. It wasn't for people born native or people from the Caribbean. They always used to get a European, but based on Garvey's knowledge, he was able to secure that position. You know what I mean? So I'm saying with knowledge, there's no chance you're gonna be a failure. You have to succeed. You have to succeed, brothers and sisters. I don't know what else I can say on this topic. I'm just flipping through it.
Well, speaking of that point too, that Mr. Garvey being the foreman where he wasn't supposed to be, it speaks to another aspect from the first lesson on knowledge, intelligence, how to get it. Mr. Garvey was, because of his brilliance, people decided to bet on him. They decided to give him things that they knew he could handle, because he demonstrated, just as they mentioned earlier in this lesson about the man with the talents, who was faithful in what he was given. You know, those who are faithful, more is granted. So when he was given that talent and he became this master printer, he began to surround himself not with mediocre people, but with people who were the best, who were the preeminent geniuses and scholars and giants amongst the people. Dealing with Reverend Dr. Robert J. Love was one of the greatest thinkers we've produced. Other people that he came across with the Deuce Muhammad Ali's and John Edward Bruce's, people like Thomas Fortune and William Henry Ferris. These were giants. These weren't, some mediocre, as they try to portray in some of these mockumentaries about Mr. Garvey. These weren't people who were just loyal, but, not qualified, and, just a bunch of, sycophants or yes men. These were people who actually were, in their own respects and rights, geniuses. And he was just able to bring them together with his genius and produce the best newspapers, the best companies, the best services that we can produce. And because he was around such preeminent giants like that, even legal giants, he was able to represent himself in court and actually win the case. Although the court made the jury go back and decide him guilty, nonetheless. But he was able to do things that his Harvard trained attorneys claimed wasn't even possible to be done. But he was, a sponge who absorbed some of the best knowledge and the best information from the best people, and kept his, mind broad, and just applied everything properly. So he's a demonstration of what we can do. As Brother Commissioner mentioned earlier, he's, a representation of the best of us. And, as man has done, man certainly can do and will do. And Mr. Garvey's called himself John the Baptist for other Marcus Garveys or people like him to come, who have the same mindset. So, it's our turn to try to be, that level of thinker. What's that term they use? Polymath sometimes. And that's a word for you, Zakia. Polymath. Might look that one up. Uh, but again, you may know it better than me. I don't know. I should say. But yeah, definitely one who was an intellectual sponge, who utilized reason as well as just acquiring thought, which alone is power, but power that's not yielded properly, kind of useless. So yeah, and being again spiritually obedient to his divine mind, to his calling, is what allowed Mr. Garvey to fear no man like himself. He only feared God, and not fear in the sense of hating, or being, scared of somebody going to do something to him, but fearing God in the sense of fearing the displeasure of God, fearing displeasing the Almighty, and wanting to do what is, righteous. Mr. Garvey, believed in tremendous odds of righteousness on the side of good people. So it's not by might nor by power, but by my spirit, says the Lord of hosts, is one of our rituals. And unless the Lord build a house, that labors but lost to build it. Except the Lord keep the city, the watchman waketh but in vain. So there's a lot of faith in the Almighty and in wanting to please the Almighty, and understanding that our divine injunction is to have our own vine and fig tree and to provide for ourselves, as other races have done. We can do. That it's an obligation, not just a hobby or some interest to do certain things. You're obligated to serve your people, to serve your community, and provide for kith and kin, the way others have. You be true to thyself, you can be false to no other man. So let us start with ourselves and look out for our own families first, and then we can worry about other folks later, if anything is left in the tank.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I also added a philomath to the list of words, since we're giving out tricky words this evening, Mr. President. Your daughter added, well, she put the definition in the chat: a person of a wide range of knowledge or learning, and a philomaths is a person who has a love of learning and studying. Without further ado, I want to welcome Brother Sandor to the discussion today. Great Garvey evening to you, sir. Let's see that he's not. He may be away from his computer or phone.
Great Garvey Day. Great Garvey Day.
How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. Thank you, Mr. Commissioner. And
Yes,
greetings
sir.
also to Miriama, President General, and other members on the chat room.
Today we was just doing lesson 13, the universe.
Yes.
I know. Did you? I know you've read it. Have you got the book with you now? Is there anything you want to add to that at this moment in time, or you want to pause till later on in the discussion?
I'll come back. I'll come back later. I've been reading it this week, but I'll just let the meeting commence as I'm late, and apologies for being late anyway. But just let the obviously let the meeting commence, and then I'll hopefully later on come in with my views on lesson 13.
No problem, Brother Sando. There's a part in here where Garvey says, if I could dream my life into eternity and come back with wisdom, should not I have the surpassing knowledge of my fellows? Then why not seek it, since it is there for man to seek out and possess himself of it? He's going back to the same thing I'm saying, brothers and sisters, that we must get knowledge. We have to become a learned person. It's the only way forward for us, brothers and sisters, and that will transform our life. With that information, it will transform our life. It will be an inspiration for our transformation. So we urge people to keep the studying going. While they're away from the study group, to keep studying, keep learning. We're still saying we must read a book a week. If people can't read a book a week, read a book every 2 weeks. If that's not enough, then read a book every month. But we have to be reading, we have to be studying, we have to be knowing. Sorry, Mr. President, was you gonna say something?
Yeah. I thought you were finished. But yeah, I was just going over the lesson again, and there's one particular word I like how he called it mental industry. What the mind can produce, and the statement was, "Man in his excellence lifts himself highest to God by his mental industry." And the man who has no mental industry, who can't produce, things from his mind, he forfeits that mentality to the useful servant who climbs in his excellence to the most excellent.
Yes,
And
sir.
that concept of the mind creates, and the mind, being able to produce is one thing to think about something. Is another thing to actually develop the fortitude and the confidence and the drive and the initiative to actually manifest something, and to be able to manifest something out of your thinking of it, to materialize it, is a powerful tool that makes you godlike. In fact, the word for one of the names that people use for the Almighty, the word Jehovah, mean he who causes to become, and one who manifests things into reality. So when we become those who can cause things to become and come into existence, just because we were able to think it, conceive it, and then go out and put the work into achieving it. Faith without works is dead. So if you have faith and no works behind it, yeah, you won't accomplish much. But others can show you their faith by their works if they put the work behind it. So we want to be faithful in our actions as well as our thinking. and studying and reflecting and knowing, what we can do. So, but that definitely it elevates us to being as high as possible to the Almighty in our divine mind, our thinking, as lords of our own affairs, lords of our own creation. And so, sometimes the words we speak to ourselves, they don't just describe our reality; they actually shape our reality. What we speak to ourselves create the world that we actually live in. It produces. It has effect. So we might want to protect what we feed our brain, what seeds we plant inside of our minds and hearts, and make sure that all that positive, constructive, and not self-destructive energy lands in the right place. It's important to look into the television you watch, the music you listen to, be perceptive of what you're actually picking up from these things, because they can form bad habits as well as good habits. And Carter G. Woodson would later say that if you control what a person thinks, you don't have to worry too much about what they do, because they're going to do exactly what they've been programmed by their thoughts to do. So always be on guard to protect your thoughts and ideas, so that you will reap good fruit from the seeds that you sow into your own brain, or allow others to drop into your consciousness. But yeah, that's it's a lot of work, a lot of power, and a small lesson.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And just as you were saying that, I was just thinking of the times they had us in chattel slavery, and the wicked slave master wouldn't allow us to read, because he knows that once we start studying, we will start to look at our situation and say, something ain't right here. And we'll start to change our conditions, you know. So he's not worried about us until we start to study. Once we start to study, we become a threat. A black man or a black woman with the power of their mind is more dangerous than a black man or a black woman with a gun in their hand.
Absolutely. Can I just add to something you just said there, Commissioner?
Yes, sir.
Sorry for being late anyway, but yeah, as you were saying, education, yeah, and you were saying about the colonialists not wanting us to read what they had written, what they had studied for 3,000 years and reinterpreted it in their white supremacy literature. But I do know that the migration that even the Africans that were taken, or so-called taken, in the slave, so what they call the transatlantic slave trade, I do know from research that a lot of these so-called slaves, they were not illiterate in any means, in any way possible. We've been led to believe that they were like, with loincloths and, swinging from trees, but they were very educated people, royalty, some of them. And they'd got their education, or the education was passed down through Kemet, or if you want to go further up the Nile, you can say Ethiopia, but they were fed with that genetic information coming all the way down the Nile up until when the Arabs invaded Kemet, 6,000 something BC, something like that, and they dispersed. Obviously, a lot of us noticed they dispersed like to places like Timbuktu and to Ghana and into the Ashanti lands in Ghana and different places. They just disappeared, mostly to the west coast. And we've got the facts and we've got the information that up to the time when they started to take our people from the shores of Africa, from Elmina and different places, Goree Island and all the different slave castles around West Africa, that a lot of those people were very educated. They were chiefs. They were educated in building and all sort of manner of things. So when they were taken to the colonies, yes, they were already equipped with their own education and their own ways of their civilization. It was far older than the Europeans, but we're led to believe that they were like ape type people who were just running around with no sort of civilization. That was the white supremacist. That was their interpretation. And we can see around the Americas and all over where the so-called slaves are supposed to have been brought to, the development after they went there. There was a great development. I'm not contradicting what you were saying. I'm just saying they obviously what they read in English, the term English. I don't think our ancestors were able to, or even though it was duplicated from their original text, they might not have understood English. Maybe if they did read English at that time, they might have said, this is rubbish. And which some of them did, because a lot of them were so educated and they knew that whatever the Europeans, after they've taken them to, the Caribbeans or wherever, they knew that a lot of the things that they were teaching or trying to indoctrinate them in was falsehood. And I think that was the probably the catalyst that started the rebellion, people running away and trying to find their own way in the mountains or wherever, or try to escape or form their own communities. Because up to today, I think a lot of people in this chat room have rebelled against what we've been forced to learn, or what we've been should I say we've been indoctrinated in, or conditioned in, or programmed into believing. And a majority of us are still under that sort of a spell with semantics and words and what have you. We're trying to figure it out. We're trying to make sense of their language, and that's why, probably because we're trying to speak their language, is probably why it's taken so long for us to rediscover ourselves. And Honorable Commissioner, I heard you mention about reading a book, or trying to read as much as possible as you can. And I was reading. I went into a bookshop and I just saw this old Bible. So I picked it up. I paid £1 for it, but I was looking through it, but it led me to some other information. And the information is that all the books that we have, all of the words have been manipulated, changed, turned upside down, or maybe a letter's been taken off or whatever, to hide the true meaning. And I came across this today because just to share this with you, just to show you that education, we have got to really look at what we're reading. We've got to understand what we're reading. Then we've got to research what we're reading, and then we've got to really so it's a never-ending process, because we've got to verify. We've got to verify the validity of what we're reading, that was written by white supremacists. One of the things I found out today was I think it was in the Amharic language, for instance, and we know that the Amharic, or Ethiopia's got one of the oldest versions of the so-called Bible, and the way that it's written in Amharic is completely different to the way the Europeans have written it in their English language, in their King James version or whatever version it is. So you'll get a completely different interpretation. You'll be saying this, you'll be saying one thing, but obviously it's meaning another, or something will be missed out of it. Or, like I found out today, is that if you are in that Christian sort of belief system, and you are praying or using one of the scriptures that's been written there, and then you compare that scripture as to how it's written in Amharic, you'll find that it's a completely different meaning. In fact, the European translation actually takes away all of the essence from that particular verse or whatever it may be. Yes, we have got to. I agree with the Commissioner. We've really, and it's like the more you learn is the more you realize that the more you have to research. So it's a never-ending process, and we've got to try and sort of unravel the dogma and the misinterpretations and the deception that's been written into all of these texts written by European supremacists, neo-colonialists, whatever you want to call them, imperialists. So it's we've really got to, like I say, Commissioner, we've really got to study. We've really got to study and double study and triple study, and even just to verify what we're reading. But the point I'm trying to say is that language, and the European language, does not suit our genetics. It does not suit our DNA and the way that they speak. And although we are speaking it, we know that it's full of semantics, and somehow we're able to interpret it amongst ourselves. But if we were really try to go into what we were saying and what we really meant, I think other languages, African languages, Amharic, or any language that is African descent is better than any English or European language. So I'm going to stop there. I hope I emphasized what I was trying to express.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And yeah, 100%. I agree with you that people were knowledgeable in the time of slavery. I was just making a point that the children that was born into it may not have had the knowledge that those that came off of the continent had. And also, at the same time that they tell us about slavery, we can read history and we can study the Moors and how they ruled Europe. And even before the Moors, we can study the Greeks. So when the Greeks came into Kemet and they got everything from our ancestors in Kemet, we gave them this education. So in studying, you learn these things, and what it does for you is it takes these people off of the pedestal that they put themselves on. It dethrones them, because a lot of people think that these people are the best of people. They invented everything. They're the smartest of people. But when you study history, you will realize that we're the inventors of geography, mathematics, science, medicine, real medicine, not the medicine that we have in the Western world now that's just treating symptoms and not addressing the cause of the issue. So, in studying, you will begin to learn this, and this will give you confidence, brothers and sisters. And with confidence, you have won before you've even tried.
Absolutely. And just like to add a little bit to what you just said. These the Ashkosh and the Greeks and all these people that came into the Nile Valley, even the so-called Arabs, they really didn't start to elevate in their conscious liberty until they came into the Nile Valley. And I've read even that Mohammed studied in Kemet for a time, for 35, 40 years. So what I'm saying is that when the Ascos and the Europeans came into the Nile Valley looking for food, and obviously they pillaged it, we know the story. But when they actually took it back into Europe, just adding to what you just said, Honourable Commissioner, we remember and we can record from our research that they went into a 5-year, what they call the Dark Ages. So even with all of the knowledge and what they had stolen and ripped out from the walls and manuscripts that they had stolen and whatever they did when they brought it back and tried to re-engineer the essence, everything collapsed around them. They went into a dark ages up until when I'm not going to quote the year, but I think up until when the Moors, which were coming from North Africa, and those regions from Timbuktu and from those regions, the great Mansa Musa and all these great generals, Hannibal. So the knowledge was already there, but when they received it, they just could not manifest the essence and the spirituality of the teachings, and they just went into a complete decline. And it's well documented. 500 years of just they were just like back worse than when they started, and it was the African intelligence. This is what I'm trying to say. It was the African intelligence and the African superiority in building and mathematics and all of the arts and the technologies that originated in Africa. Yeah, came back again onto the Iberian Peninsula, and basically kick-started their old the old civilization all over again, and that's well documented. So I think we are genetically paired to our ancestors. Obviously something has happened. Some trauma has happened along the way, and I think we can identify a lot of the traumas that we as people have been through. So I think reading and studying, certainly outside of the white supremacist schools, has helped me a lot, because it's helped me to put a few of the jigsaw puzzles together. It's helped me to sort of get some sort of direction and some kind of at least some kind of our story from our perspective, rather than from just theirs. And in every occasion, their perception or their interpretation is either been turned upside down, manipulated, or the meaning has been completely reversed. And then we've obviously got to come along and read this dogma, and then get a clear view of what we're trying to educate ourselves in. So I think we're naturally all educated. I think obviously we've been through a lot of trauma and a lot of things over the last 400 years, whatever, and obviously it's affecting us. And what we have to, I think, what if they can go to these places like Timbuktu and take the scrolls, if they can go to up into Kemet and take all of the sacred scrolls and all of the knowledge from there and bring it back, and still fail, and it was still us who had to come back, even the building of the White House and all these, these places in America. We're talking about I forgot the gentleman's name now, but he was also a black man who helped in the construction of that infrastructure around the White House. So they've always had to come back to the black. They've always had to come back to the African knowledge, because it was ancient knowledge, and they have never been able to put all of the pieces together. And I can see this in modern day societies. They've always got to go to the African or to the black to get the real essence, because they were not equipped with that they were not equipped, they were not blessed with that genetic shall I say genetic code to be able to manipulate these greater sciences. We might be led to believe that they are because of what we see them doing. But like what you said earlier, all those technologies, sciences, pi, whatever, square roots, whatever, it all came from Kemet or from Africa. They've only been able to sort of, maybe it's taken them what? I don't know, how many years has it taken them? Over nearly 5,000 years. And they still haven't really interpreted it. They haven't interpreted it in its fullness, to get the fullness of it, because they can't. It was not meant for them to interpret. It's the language and the tongue and the essence that was given. It's for us to uncover. It's for us to like they say, loose the seven seals.
Yeah,
It's for us to do it. They're genetically incompetent. They're genetically inept, as
I
you can see
agree.
from their. They're
Okay.
inept. So if we can continue and just believe that we are educated, and that, yes, although we read a lot of their literature, we can't entirely lean upon it.
Yeah, a lot of their literature is bastardized literature they got from Timbuktu or some other place anyway. So there is value in it, but there's certainly a lot of their cultural uh, imperatives embedded in their westernized education. So definitely we had to be careful, because a lot of that knowledge that they originally got from us, from our divine mind, they didn't use for divine purposes. They used for demonic reasons, and wound up destroying their own, Europe in several world wars, etc. They were kids, our genetic, our offspring, who were playing with matches, and they, burned themselves. They didn't use the fire properly, So we definitely have to be mindful, because if we adopt their bastardization of some of our science and knowledge, yeah, we'll definitely be, experiencing the same results that they did, and not, benefiting from it the way we should. As the old saying goes, the world fears time, but time fears the pyramids, because the pyramids were a testament to our glory and our greatness and all that we were able to do. And if we reach back to that time where we understood who we were first and foremost, because you couldn't even get that kind of knowledge back in ancient Kemet unless you had sufficient character. You wouldn't be given the knowledge of the universe and how to apply the sciences, and the building arts and constructing things, and mathematics and all this, charting the stars. You wouldn't get none of that kind of power if you, behaved poorly. If you didn't, we weren't able to say the negative confessions, as some people call them, or to, express the principles of Ma'at, and say you've applied them in your life. So that's important. Definitely, we don't want to adopt their spiritual worldview, because they had their way. They would have us deifying them and demonizing ourselves at the same time. So we don't adopt their religious views, but we study, what we can be, again, use our divine thinking and understanding and reasoning and logic, and universally we can accomplish everything we will, because although knowledge sometimes is, can limit us, imagination is universal. It's something that opens us up to the possibilities of the universe. Everything is already there for us to pick up on and produce. You know, everything we need is there. We can just tap into the ethers and pull it out and extract it using our mind. You know, so yeah, the mind is the sovereign ruler.
Yeah, I just wanted to add on to that real quick, and just say that that's one of the important things too about knowledge is this, that like you can know of something, but it's different to know about it. So you can say, "Oh, I know of," but why not know about it? Why not dive deep into it and, know where it comes from? And then naturally, it's like knowledge is just like a tree, the roots of a tree. So one will lead to another thing, and it'll lead to another thing, and it'll lead to another thing. Excuse me. And it's just like never ending. So that's why sometimes you can educate yourself on something, and then you'll find out, hold up, I feel like I heard this somewhere. Let me dive into this. And oh, this isn't true. This came from this. So, oh, this has a little bit of value in it, but it's not 100% true because it really derived from this. And it's just important because it's all like a tree. It's a tree, and then it builds you like a tree too. So you become one with everything when you just educate yourself, and you can be seen in that light.
Yes, indeed, my sister. Well said. Well said there. And that's basically what Garvey is telling us in this whole book, but in specifically in this chapter. No, don't just hear about something, know it, like you were saying, and then you'll know the root, and it will lead to other things, and then your knowledge of things will grow, and then before you know it, you will have a huge understanding. And he told us to analyze things. To analyze things is actually a skill. Not a lot of people have the skill of analyzing things, of thinking for themselves. That is a blessing, brothers and sisters. To be able to think for yourself is a blessing, because as brother, I'm sure it was brother Sandal, but forgive me if it wasn't. He said that the people that is educating you now control you based on the information that they've given you. Um, you know, this is what's been happening to us for a while now. Our education, we haven't gone outside of what they're giving us. We have many black scholars to go and study, but we've just stuck to what they're telling us. And I think that even if you study what they're telling us, like people like Herodotus and these people, they tell you, that the Egyptians was Ethiopian, and they tell you that they taught us everything. And we already know that they say in Western world that the Greeks was the father and mother of their civilization. So what matter of man is it that taught the father of their civilization, which will be our ancestors? And what was our ancestors, what was the knowledge of our ancestors? They built pyramids that still marvel the world today. Garvey talks about us creating another civilization that will marvel the world. And that's kind of where I'm at in this time now. That we want to create a new civilization that will astonish the world again, just like our ancestors did in Kemet and Great Zimbabwe and other places across the continent and even in Europe. I'm happy to have our sister on the chat. She's the future. Where we may
Thank
fall
you.
short, sister, you will finish off the work.
Thank
So
you.
we're putting a lot on your shoulders, but with the mind that you have, we're confident in the victory, sister. We're confident in the victory that we will win one day. Garvey said it may take 100 years, it may take 200 years, but we will be free. And I just
Yes,
would
we
like,
will. Yes, we will.
and I just like to add that anything that man has done before, we can do again. There's nothing that's stopping us but ourselves. They have this little this, I don't know what to say, if it's a metaphor about the caged bird. The caged bird didn't know he had wings to fly. This is kind of, because this is the story of us sometimes. We are like the caged bird. We have wings to fly, but we just believe that we don't have wings. We don't know that we can fly. We don't know our true value, and we don't know our true potential. But with this book, this will help unlock our true potential. And we have our ancestral memory bank. We have something in our DNA that can be awakened, brothers and sisters. And this is why studying is important, because you never know what you're going to awaken. You don't know your lineage. You don't know what's tapped up in your DNA. You have to unlock it. And Garveyism will help you unlock these things. And if it don't help you unlock it, it will help build an environment that will unlock it. Because we're all asking for what? Self-determination, the rights to live, food, clothing, and shelter. This is a human right. And Garvey had the Declaration of Rights that they didn't listen to. It's still relevant to this day. We shouldn't be. I know was it last week Sunday? They were celebrating over here in the UK, the soldiers that died in their war. I refuse to celebrate the soldiers that died in their war, even if some of them were black. I can't, because what was they fighting for? They were fighting for a country, an empire that refused them after they fought. We hear about, even in the Second World War, with the American soldiers, they couldn't even eat in the same mess hall as the American soldiers. In fact, the German soldiers that they captured could eat with the American soldiers, but the black people that was fighting for America couldn't eat. So what are we fighting for? Garvey even spoke about that. We fought enough for them. How about it's time we fight for ourselves now, brothers and sisters? So this is the time that we're at. We're coming up to the last 23 minutes, but this is where we're at now. We must fight with our minds now. We must use our mind to get information and apply this information, because knowledge is power when it's applied. Not just when you have it, you have to apply this knowledge to be powerful. Too many people have some knowledge, but they are not applying this knowledge, so we're not getting the results that we need. We need to apply the pressure. This is the stage that we're at now. We need to be applying this consciousness into our community, where we can see the fruits of our knowledge. So we're reaching up to the last 20-something minutes, as I said. I know our brother Race First has been quite quiet this evening. Is there anything you want to add, brother Race First?
Yeah, just on the application of the knowledge that we seek and that we get. Like, when we finish our study sessions, like lesson 22, when we actually come to the end of it, I like us to propose, and I think President General alluded to this last week, what businesses we could get into seriously. But we have people in Jamaica, we've got people in America, we've got people on the continent, we've got people in England. So we need to find some unilateral transatlantic business that we can all be doing to actually do the work, and that we're not just here sitting, talking, running our gums. Like, we need to actually do something. But on the last call, I was with my the last lesson, the purpose of institutions. I was with my nephew. He was listening in. He goes, so what's the plan? What you lot doing? What's the plan? What you lot doing? So we need to show the youngsters and also show ourselves that we are actually have a plan in action. We're gonna take action, and we're gonna build new pyramids, write our own hieroglyphs, and so on and so forth. So that was just some food for thought. I already have a couple ideas that I'm trying to work on in the background, but anyone else, nationally, internationally, please feel free to share.
Definitely appreciate that, President Race First. Yeah, there's a whole lot of ideas and plans. Some of them are going to require greater membership to accomplish on the scale that we want, but everything starts somewhere. So again, if we work as a team, Our vision doesn't have to be a dream. We can materialize them. But as you were talking about some of the things, one thing I always thought about was if you look at the Kalahari and the Sahara Desert in Africa. Africa is a place where there's brownouts all over the place. Nigeria has so many brownouts. Ghana, different places. Electricity, it's not strong as it ought to be in this stage. Yet I'm thinking of all this sun and all these solar panels that can be utilized to generate enough energy to power the entire continent. The wind that goes through the desert. All these windstorms we're hearing about. They could power probably the entire planet just out of the desert. It can be enough to actually even cause the irrigation of water. Maybe desalination plants that can return the Sahara into a rainforest if we wanted to. But it's so many possible things that may take some engineers and scientists and resources that at the moment we don't have. But we can, put together short-term and long-term plans. We can, do things that may start off local and, eventually link, keeping our universal minds, with other divisions here, there, and the other place. But, it all starts with, the power of one, of that universal mind going to work and, putting ideas together and, eventually we'll do what our imagination and our determination allows us to do. But yeah, everything is possible. Others have done it. Certainly we can do it. And no one can stop us but us. No one's more powerful than us. No one is superior to us. So if we blame others, we're pretty much conceding an inferiority to others. And, so opposition is nothing. Mr. Garvey used to, in fact, say the source of his success was opposition. You oppose him and he'll fight you all the more. And, the true worth and determination of our race is somewhat shaped by the opposition that we encounter. And, we've suffered and endured all kinds of great tragedies over the years and come out on top when other people have been exterminated. So, we're going to be here and we're going to, keep fighting until we accomplish everything that we will, because we are Garveyites, and same Garveyism that sparked the Harlem Renaissance, that sparked the Black Power movement, that sparked the African independence movement. It's about to spark another movement that's going to take over the globe. I predict in a very short period of time, and there'll be nobody or nothing that will be able to stop it this time, or even stymie our progress. We put our minds to it. So I'm feeling inspired. Even got the baby girl on the phone, fired up.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You already
Absolutely.
know.
Mr. President, raised first. I hear that 100%. I'm with you. I don't want you to think like I'm not with you, but I find when people say that, yeah, it's like we as a people, we just look for any excuse not to build. We need him to build. We will get what he wants when he joins. Do you know what I'm saying? Like we can't do this alone. Me and you, brother, raised first. We can't do it alone. We need our brothers and sisters to do the work. You know what I'm saying? Everybody wants to see results, and they're quick to say, "Oh, but it's just this. We can't get the." We need people to get the results. The results that everybody's looking for, we need them to get it. It can't be obtained without them. We need a building in the UK, for instance, right? Now, they say there's a couple millions of us in the UK. If everybody was in sync, everybody give £1, £1, and we'll have the building in one day. To show you that we just lack the unity. That's what we're lacking. Marcus Garvey said the Negro's biggest problem is his disorganization. We have to get organized in order to get this result. Because if we can't get organized, how are we going to run our business? How are we going to have a business if people can't even turn up at meetings? It's not going to happen. This is going to be me and you, brother Race first, and brother Sando, and sister Nyasha, and President General trying to do something. But in the grand scheme of things, we need more people. That's why, I'm happy that Mr. President said it takes, a strong membership drive in order to get certain results that we're looking for. Because in numbers, that's where our strength is. In numbers, that's where our power is. And it's unfortunate because the young man, I presume, is a young man. He's right. We need results, and in seeing results, more people will join. He's 100% correct. But at the same time, we can't get the results if we don't have the people. It's like you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. But I see you was gonna unmute and say something, Brother Reese, first. Go ahead, Mr. President.
No, I was gonna say, no, the book that the President General introduced us to by,
Well, by our
I
own
believe it
strength.
was, yeah, brother. That's what it always falls. That's what it always, brother. We cannot get away because them type of people are always gonna be there. That type. Oh, so what you doing? Oh, you men are just talking. Da 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 da. Woo, 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 woo. So it's always gonna be by our own strength. By whether it's just one, two, or everyone on this call that's just tuning in, or everyone that has just spoke here, it's just gonna have to be by our own strength. That's what
I
it's
hear
gonna
you.
boil down to.
I hear you.
Because unfortunately, a lot of us were just this visual type of people where we need to see by eyesight and not mind sight. So it's all this I need to see. What are you doing? What's the plan? Da, 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 da. You know what I'm saying, brother? So I get what you're saying, brother. I get what you're saying, but my call, this shout out I was giving was to people on the call
Okay, I'm with
and
you.
people kind of listening in, and people that say they're in our division, and like that was that was the shout out, that was the call. Everyone else, I know where you're at, and sometimes we meet you where you're at and try and pull you up with not allowing you to pull me down or us down, kind of
Mhm.
thing.
Do you know what happens though? You said it there. You meet people where they at, they gonna pull you where they at. There's more people like that than there is of us, unfortunately. So it's about re-educating the mass of people to think different. I don't know if it was last week or the week before. I was talking about habits and what we spend our money on, and I was saying that I can tell a lot about a person by the way they spend their money. I was speaking to somebody just this week, and I was telling them about a book, and I said the book costs 90 something pound. They said, "What? I'm not spending £90 on a book." I said, "That's your problem, brother. But you will spend £200 on Jordans." Like, I can see where your mind's at. You'll go raving, and you will buy bottles, and all of this, spend £300-400 in the dance, but you can't spend £300-400 on your mind. So we've got to change the way we think. And I'm with you, brother. We've got as a collective on the call and as a division, we got to figure something out. I'm with you 100%. There's no excuse. We've got to figure it out. We have to figure it out.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned that, honorable commissioner. I used to tell folks in the hood sometimes about the old expression. You want to hide something from a Negro, you can put it in a book. He won't look there. And I was saying that I guarantee, because I've seen people who broke into other people's cars because they saw 50 cents, some change in the ashtray, or sitting in the car somewhere. So they break someone's window, go in there just to steal 30, 40 cents out of an ashtray. But if the car had $1 million worth of books, they wouldn't even look at the car funny. I mean, they would walk right past and I might want that junk, But yeah, our value system is way all out of whack, and I don't. Yeah, we definitely don't exercise our mind nearly as much as we ought to, and we know better. I mean, we're not stupid, but we're just too content with ignorance. Say ignorance is bliss. Well, we need to stop that party because we need a lot more intelligence in this day and age than we need some blissful ignorance. And I was thinking, someone was talking earlier about logic, and I was mentioning, yeah, some things we can figure out through logic, but also reasoning. And there's a difference between reasoning and logic. Reasoning kind of, logic is logic. It's the old Aristotelian example would go. They say all men bleed. Shakespeare is a man, therefore Shakespeare bleeds. That's logical, but is it necessarily true? Are all these premises true statements? And the one who questions, well, do all men bleed? Is this a man that may not bleed? How do we know Shakespeare was a man? How do and you begin to question the premises upon which we build our, assumed Western foundation. And you'll find that there's a whole lot of errors and mistakes along the way that, assumptions that people make that are damaging to their psyche. And so if we're going to really emancipate ourselves from mental slavery, as the most honorable Marcus Garvey told us to do, and redeem the souls of Africa's sons and daughters from social, political, economic, and spiritual bondage, then we definitely have to develop that universal mind and think on a divine level. And in regards to, I was thinking the same thing you were, Commissioner, about the nephew's comment, because we all hear that comment sometimes. What y'all doing? Y'all ain't doing nothing, blah, blah, blah. But there's an old saying that no participation, no right to criticize. If I'm in the, if we came here on different ships, but we all in the same boat. And if I'm rowing the boat and going as fast as I can to get us to somewhere safe, and you sitting there, man, you ain't rowing fast enough. What you doing? You ain't doing nothing. Well, why ain't you helping me? There's some paddles over there too. So you really ain't got a whole right to say nothing, because what I do is going to benefit both of us. But if you ain't doing nothing, then I don't really need to hear what you got to say. I don't care what you had to say. Sharp doing some work, and then we got some rights to, judge what one another is doing, etc. But yeah, we got to learn to. This is urgent matter we're dealing with here, and it's not fair for us to be working so hard for the benefit of the entire race, and the entire race sitting there watching us, or either trying to oppose us along the way. So yeah, we really need to ring the alarm as loud as possible, let folks know that the floods are coming, and we got to build this ark. You don't get on it now, you will regret it later. Don't come swimming up to the boat after we hit the waters, because yeah, we're not taking no new passages on. So let's start building this empire that we once had, and once was able to thrive and flourish in a beautiful world. Years ago when we were on top of things, and let's start working our way back towards the prestige and the glory and the power and the peacefulness and the peaceful reign that we once had, at least over our affairs, if not that of the world, because we ultimately have to restore some peace to the world, not just ourselves. Threats out there to others, that eventually is going to creep into our backyard. So we need to make the world a better place in general. But yeah, I definitely hear what everybody's saying and agree.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You're gonna
Yes,
say
sir.
something, President? Raise first.
Yeah, I was going to say that we are just like one hot idea away from, you know, we're just one hot idea away from tying it all in together, right, fellow brothers and sisters. I think we're just one hot idea. And once we get that one hot idea and make it like pop, then all those naysayers, all those, oh, what you doing, what you should be doing, what you could be doing, oh, you just over there talking and boom, boom. It will spark their minds to jump in the boat and start rowing with us, because it all goes back to this thing where I say again that some people can only see it. Some people just have to see it, and they don't have like the mindset to kind of see and get the vision of what we're trying to do out here. So again, I'd say, yeah, we all need us on the call. We all need to put our respective heads together and see what we can manifest to lead the charge. You know, and again, I'm welcome to all ideas, because I know our little shillings, pounds, and dollars, and US dollars, and Jamaican dollars, and Kenyan shillings that we've got around, because we all know people. We can do something. We can do something, is what I'm saying. And on that note, Mr. Commissioner, I will give the floor to you.
I
Yes,
just want
sir.
to say before you do, Commissioner, brother Commissioner,
Go ahead, sister.
you know, it's all well and good us talking about what we can do. There's ideas forever. They're infinite, and that's what this chapter also talks about. You know, your mind is the start of everything. Thoughts become things. But if we are an organisation that's still fairly new here in London and we need to learn to study, because that's been the theme of the last few weeks, it doesn't matter what other people are seeing at this point in time if that's the focus. And that just needs to take precedent, and it means we have to just work with what's in front of us at the end of the day. So we have to stick to what we're saying. If we're saying that studying is most important, then that's what we need to focus on. And once we finish studying, then we can move on to other things, because we know that there's things that need to be done. We know that people need to see things. But at the same time, as you're saying, we need to still be able to encourage and follow the works of what Marcus Garvey set out to do. What Marcus Garvey set out to do. So I think we should focus on one thing in front of us first, which is study, and then we continue to study as we continue to go on, and then we incorporate things and make them happen as time goes on.
Brother Race first. Before you say something, yeah.
I gotta get it first. I gotta get it,
Go
bro.
on,
I got. But
go on.
sister, when I started this course of the thing, I said after lesson 22, when we have done lesson 22, the 5-year plan, when that's all said and done, then we should be thinking about these things, innit? I'll just planting the seed out there, my sister.
And you know what I was gonna say, yeah, my sister, I'm so happy to hear you say those words, sister. Believe you me, I'm so happy to hear you utter that statement that you said, because this is what I've been trying to say to the brothers and sisters in the chat for the longest time. Once we have control of our minds, yeah, because remember, we can't build on sand. It takes knowledge to know when to build. It takes knowledge to know when to plant a seed. You have to know the seasons in which to plant. You have to, in terms of even picking medicine, herbs, you got to know what time of the day to pick these herbs in order for it to have its full strength. And that comes from knowledge. So I'm so happy to hear you say that, sister, because in the past, you know, we've discussed things, you know, and when I heard that you said that, I think you're beginning to understand now what we've been saying for the past month or so. And
If
I'm
I'm
happy
very
to hear that.
honest, it's not so much that I don't understand. I understand very well. It's very clear. But what I'm saying is, let's stay consistent with our talk. Let's not start deviating and going different ways. Because this is what I was saying. I was saying, let's still plan in the background. I don't see why we can't do both. It doesn't mean we're going to execute both. It means we're going to focus on one thing, but we have things to roll out once we have finished this chapter. That was my thing. So now it's like y'all are coming around to my way of thinking. They're like, okay, let's
No.
go.
I'm sticking to what
Focus
you said.
on
Yep, I'm with you.
study.
Focus on studying, sister. And
Focus on study.
Brother Ray's first knows that as well. He was just saying that, you know, once the study, the lessons have finished, he would like to for us to figure out a business plan. That's all he was saying, because he understands that studying is the main important thing right now. He knows more than than most, because me and him have discussed this over and over again. Because if we don't know what we're doing, we're gonna fail. And it takes knowledge, takes knowing to know, and then we can execute. Because many people are doing things, sister. Look how long we've been on this trod. There's like when we started with AWF dealing with the youth violence and things like that. There's many people trying to do something in the community, but they lack that, they don't know what they're doing. No disrespect. They have the heart, the good intention, and all those things, but they don't know that it has to be raised first. They keep going around in circles, and they're gonna end up right back here. That it's by our own strength. Because the same people that fund you, once they take the funding away from you, you can't do the work anymore. So we have to be able to fund ourselves in whatever we're doing. And that has been the story of us in the UK anyway, for the longest time, that we've been tricked into believing that they can help us solve our problems. Nobody can't solve these issues for us. Only us can solve these issues for us. And when we solve these issues will be solved completely. We won't have to solve them again because we've solved them. You know, so it's not about reinventing the wheel. It's about studying. Once we're educated, once we know what we're doing, then when it comes to executing things, we will be able to one slice, chop, head gone, as they would say. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I'm with you, sister. Let's focus on the studying. I'm also with our president. Let's figure out some things in the future. We've got a couple more months probably on this book, but in the meantime, let's think of some things that we can do. I know brother Sando's got some things going on in Africa that I'm willing, well, not willing, I want to touch base with him on in the coming future. But we've reached our time as well, brothers and sisters. So if anybody wants to add or say something, now is your chance before I ask our President General, the Honorable, to lead us out.
If I might just say one thing before we go,
Yes, sir.
and that is the most important thing for our future. And although we're thinking about business plans, I think everybody's got a business plan. I've got some means of getting some income, but the most important thing in all our endeavors is our children.
100%.
And there's nothing more important than our children, because if we can't, you see, the problem that we have now is that we've lost connection with our children. And they can be sitting in the background. You're hoping. I've got sons too who sit in the background, and they're, you know, and I know because I'm always try to do. And, you know, my life has been like that. But what I'm saying is that it's the children that we need to get a business plan around. And once we can get a business plan around the children so that we can educate them ourselves into the ways of, you know, the African redemption and Marcus Garvey, then it's going to be a battle, because we're not going to have the future generations coming up. Yes, we've done our time. We're just holding the fort at the moment. But the most important aspects of what we're doing meeting here is to set up plans, or to set up any sort of activities that can engage with our children. And from there, we can start to think about the future of our organization and how it's going to be, because it will be passed on to youths that are. I'm not saying that we're not doing it, but I'm just saying I think that should be one of the most priorities, one of the biggest priorities, even in England here, with what's going on with knife crime, is to start engaging with the youth and show them that they're outside of the institution, that we as an organization are willing to reach out to them and to help them overcome all the obstacles that they're facing in this modern time. So thank you very much for that.
Well, let me give a closing word. I just want to do a simple reading for Mr. Garvey and closing out. I thank everybody for their contribution. Been a great session. You know, definitely informative, inspiring, and preparing us for the greater work ahead. Mr. Garvey once said that we are the creatures of a divine source. From this almighty and divine source, all things are created. All things are made. In his creation, his highest contribution in his own universe is his own world. In his own world is man. He has other beings, but they are not made of the same mold as man. In the material, physical world, man is the highest contribution. To contemplate him, you must universalize all matter. You must take into comprehension everything that exists, and then you have the total summation of God. As his presence is in everything, in a higher or lower degree, so in you, his highest contribution to the universe, he is in you in a higher degree. He has done more for you than any other of his creations within his universe. When I said in the previous subject that man is God, I meant the spirit of God in you. So therefore, let us, in closing, realize that the spirit of the Almighty is in us, that the brilliance of the divine universe and all that we need to know and all that can be known. We have the capacity of acquiring for our community, for our race, and let us utilize that brilliance and genius that exists by utilizing our imaginations, by utilizing our creative minds, and accomplishing all that we can, because there's no one greater than us to do these things. And so let us plan while others are playing, decide while others are delaying, work while others are wishing, and persist while others are quitting. And we will reach that victory and accomplish everything we will. And with that, I'd like to ask my beloved daughter to close with the motto of the association, if you would.
All right. One God,
One God,
one
One God,
name,
one aim.
one
one
aim,
destiny.
one
And
destiny.
Never let the devil get the best of me.
Amen.
Got
Amen.
lyrics like
you
a
get
Sure.
farmer.
Yeah, it's in the genes.
The jeans,
It's
definitely.
in the blood.
It's in the blood.
yeah, she's Garvey born, Garvey